Hey there, my friends! Welcome to those of you watching us for the first time. And to those of you already sharing this journey with the Academy, thank you so much for joining me again. Here we're exploring international law. The two playlists mentioned above are the paths that we have took so far, and I am here to take it further by drawing the law alive. We are talking about subjects of international law, which you can revisit the created videos about that in my playlist above. Today, we're continuing our discussion on international organizations in international law. We've already seen how they become subjects of international law, and now we'll focus on the League of Nations and the United Nations. Ready your curiosity, and let's begin this new chapter together. When I turn to the first major experiment in global cooperation, I draw a simple circle in my notebook and write above it, League of Nations. It emerged after the First World War, shaped deeply by Woodrow Wilson's vision for preventing another global catastrophe. His proposal became part of the Treaty of Versailles, giving the League a legal foundation and inviting states to join a new system of collective security and peaceful dialogue. The League began with many of the Allied powers and a wide group of invited and later admitted members. Yet one absence defined its fragility. The United States never joined, despite being the original architect of the idea. The U.S. Senate refused ratification, and the League moved forward without the power and influence of America behind it. The League of Nations was established through the Covenant of the League of Nations, which served as its founding charter. The covenant consisted of 26 articles and 2 annexes, with the first 26 articles largely drawn from the Treaty of Versailles. Its provisions were binding on all member states, and any state that refused to comply was required to withdraw from the organization. The first assembly of the League of Nations was presided over by Woodrow Wilson, and subsequent sessions carried out the functions of the Executive Council. The League's main objectives were to maintain international peace and security, promote cooperation among nations, and prevent future conflicts. The organization chose Geneva as its headquarters. From there, its structure formed around 4 central pillars. The General Assembly brought together all member states, each with 1 vote, creating a forum for broad political discussion. The Council, smaller and more executive, included permanent powers and rotating members responsible for responding to crises. The Secretariat, led by a Secretary General, managed the League's administrative work and supported its day-to-day operations. And alongside these political organs stood the Permanent Court of International Justice, the first standing international court created to settle disputes and give legal guidance to the League. But despite its pioneering spirit, the League struggled. Major powers left or ignored its decisions, crises intensified in the 1930s, and aggression spread faster than the institution could respond. By the end of the Second World War, it became clear that the League could no longer fulfill the role for which it was born. In 1946, it formally dissolved, handing over its responsibilities, archives, and many of its institutions to the newly created United Nations. The creation of the United Nations was not a single moment, but a sequence of steps shaped by war, hope, and diplomacy. Its story begins with the Atlantic Charter of 1941, where Roosevelt and Churchill outlined a vision for a post-war world grounded in peace, security, and human rights. A year later came the Declaration by United Nations, signed by 26 countries who promised to fight together against Axis powers and to build, afterward, a collective system for maintaining peace. This political momentum spread into the Moscow Declaration, which affirmed the necessity of a general international organization, and the Tehran Declaration, where the Allied leaders publicly committed to creating such a structure after the war. In 1944, diplomats gathered at Dumbarton Oaks, a great Washington estate, and drafted the blueprint of the future organization, its purposes, its organs, and its structure. Yet some questions still needed political agreement, so the final negotiations moved to Yalta, where the great powers resolved issues such as the voting system in the Security Council. With this groundwork ready, the world turned to San Francisco, where the Great Founding Conference of 1945 took place. States from every region, along with certain international organizations, including the legacy bodies of the League of Nations and the Permanent Court of International Justice attended. Out of that conference emerged the Charter of the United Nations, one preamble, 110 articles, several annexes spreading across more than 70 pages, forming the constitutional document of the new international order. It established the UN headquarters in New York and created a structure that blended political organs, judicial institutions, administrative systems, and specialized agencies. To study the United Nations, you should understand that there is a UN system, which includes the United Nations itself, its subsidiary organs, and its specialized agencies. Let's talk about the UN main organs first. General Assembly, the great deliberative hall where every member state has one vote and up to 5 representatives in its delegation. Its role is to discuss global issues, adopt recommendations, oversee the budget, and elect members to various UN organs. Though its resolutions are not legally binding in most cases, its influence is moral, political, and often decisive. The agenda of the United Nations General Assembly is prepared by its Secretary General and circulated to all member states at least 60 days in advance. The Assembly is not a permanent body, but convenes in different sessions. The regular session occurs annually, while special sessions can be called within 15 days. There are also sessions convened for specific issues referred by the Security Council, lasting up to 10 days, and emergency special sessions, which are called within 24 hours. For example, sessions related to Resolution 377 or the Uniting for Peace mechanism. The General Assembly operates through several commissions, 6 of which are considered primary: political and security, economic and financial, social, humanitarian and cultural, special political and decolonization, administrative and budgetary, and the legal committee. In addition, the Assembly reviews credentials for each session. Decision-making on important matters requires a majority vote, with at least 2/3 of the member states present for quorum. Beside it is the Security Council, the organ responsible for maintaining international peace and security. It consists of 15 members, 5 permanent, China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, and 10 elected for 2-year terms based on geographical distribution. The Council's decisions are binding, and its voting system includes the famous veto, meaning that any permanent member can block a substantive resolution. The United Nations Security Council operates as a permanent body. Its sessions can be convened by the Secretary General, by any non-permanent member state that accepts the Council's dispute resolution procedures, by any state involved in a conflict, by any member of the Security Council, or upon request by the General Assembly. The Council's powers under the UN Charter depend on the chapter invoked. Under Chapter 6, it addresses the peaceful settlement of disputes between states, deciding how conflicts should be resolved. Under Chapter 7, concerning threats to peace, breaches of peace, or acts of aggression, the Council takes executive action, as it is the organ primarily responsible for maintaining international peace and security. The Council has 6 main subsidiary bodies, including the Military Staff Committee, the Sanctions Committee, expert committees, and the Committee for Admitting New Members. Regarding the veto right, procedural matters, such as convening the Council, setting its agenda, or recommending a state for UN membership, require 9 affirmative votes out of 15, and the permanent members' agreement is not required. For substantive matters, however, 9 affirmative votes are needed, including the concurring votes of all 5 permanent members. This veto right was established at the Yalta Conference based on proposals from Russia and the United States, and has some limitations. It does not apply in Uniting for Peace resolutions, in cases where the Council is a party to a dispute, or when a permanent member abstains from voting. Abstention does not count as a veto. Though the Council holds primary responsibility for peace, the General Assembly shares certain parallel functions, especially when the Council is unable to act. As reflected in the Uniting for Peace mechanism, there are also a number of shared responsibilities between the General Assembly and the Security Council. These joint functions include admitting new member states, suspending rights or expelling members who violate the rules, electing the Secretary General, appointing judges to the International Court of Justice, and reviewing amendments to the United Nations Charter. Next is ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Council, composed of 54 members elected for 3-year terms, with seats distributed regionally to ensure balanced representation. ECOSOC coordinates global economic, social, and developmental activities and supervises a network of commissions and committees working across the world. The commissions of ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Council, cover a wide range of regional and thematic issues. These include commissions on statistics, population, drug control, human rights, the status of women, and social development. The economic commissions are regionally based: Geneva for Europe, Beirut for Western Asia, Santiago for Latin America, Bangkok for Asia and Oceania, and the Economic Commission for Africa. ECOSOC holds 3 types of sessions: a brief organizational session responsible for agenda approval, a regular session, and an extraordinary session, which can be convened at its own discretion to address matters related to peace, trusteeship, or other urgent issues. ECOSOC also has the authority to establish functional, regional, permanent, and special committees as needed. Additionally, ECOSOC shares exclusive competencies with non-governmental organizations through its Committee on Non-Governmental Organizations. This committee, composed of 19 members elected for 4-year terms, coordinates and supervises the collaboration between ECOSOC and accredited NGOs, ensuring joint work in economic, social, and humanitarian matters. Next one is the Trusteeship Council, originally created to supervise trust territories moving towards self-government or independence. The members of the United Nations Trusteeship Council, which continued the functions of the former League of Nations mandate system, included the permanent members of the Security Council, the administering countries of trust territories, and other states elected by the General Assembly for 3-year terms. The trusteeship system generally applied to territories under the mandate system, territories separated from enemy states after a world war, and territories with special trusteeship agreements. If a trusteeship arrangement was established by treaty, the determination and amendment of that treaty were the responsibility of the General Assembly. If the territory had a special international status, its administration fell under the authority of the Security Council. In any case, under UN resolution, the Trusteeship Council's activities have been suspended. As the last trust territory achieved independence in 1994, this council completed its mission and is now inactive, though it still formally exists under the Charter. Then comes the International Court of Justice, the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. It consists of 15 judges elected for 9-year terms by the General Assembly and the Security Council, voting independently but concurrently. Unlike the old Permanent Court of International Justice, this court is directly integrated into the UN system and has a broader jurisdiction, with both contentious cases between states and advisory opinions for UN organs. It is crucial to understand that the court's jurisdiction is based on the consent of the states involved. In order for the court to exercise authority over a case, the states must have expressly accepted its statute, which forms an integral part of the United Nations Charter. This consent is the fundamental condition for the ICJ to take up a dispute and issue a judgment. And finally, the administrative backbone of the organization is the Secretariat, headed by the Secretary General, who has so far never been selected from among the members of the United Nations Security Council and is appointed by the General Assembly upon the recommendation of the Security Council for a term of 5 years. The Secretary General holds administrative, political, and informational responsibilities within the UN system, and the Secretariat carries the daily administrative work of the UN, assists all organs, manages peacekeeping operations, conducts research, prepares reports, and often acts as the moral voice of the international community. Beyond its principal organs, the United Nations has a wide array of subsidiary and functional bodies, each working in specific fields while complementing the core structure. In this way, each main organ of the United Nations can also have subsidiary organs. For example, the General Assembly has multiple subsidiary bodies covering financial, political, military, economic, humanitarian, and legal matters. The most important one is the International Law Commission, ILC, which was established to promote the progressive development and codification of international law. Composed of 34 experts in international law, elected by the General Assembly for 5-year terms, the ILC examines legal questions submitted by the Assembly or initiated on its own, drafts conventions, and prepares reports to guide the international community. Among the key financial bodies of the General Assembly are the Committee on Contributions and the Advisory Committee on Administrative and Budgetary Questions. Among the important judicial organs of the UN General Assembly, there is the United Nations Administrative Tribunal, which was established to resolve disputes and employment-related claims between staff members and the organization, ensuring justice within the UN system. Similarly, the Security Council has had various committees. Before the 20th century, it included the Expert Committee, the Military Staff Committee, the Membership Committee, and the Committee on Conventional Weapons. After the 20th century, additional committees were established, such as the Sanctions Committee under Chapter 7 of the Charter, the Counterterrorism Committee under Resolution 1373, the Committee under Resolution 1540 concerning nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons, as well as committees for monitoring, inspections, and compensation, like the Food Aid-related compensation body or the Yugoslav tribunals, all originating as subsidiary organs of the Security Council. ECOSOC likewise has subsidiary committees, both economic and social, such as the Human Rights Commission, which was later replaced by the Human Rights Council, elected by the General Assembly with 47 members for 3-year terms, assisted by an 18-member advisory committee of experts. These bodies monitor and promote human rights and include subcommissions, like the Subcommission on the Promotion and Protection of Human Rights. And within the Secretariat, there are freestanding bodies such as the Central Emergency Response Fund, which is assisted by the Deputy Secretary General, and the UN Democracy Fund. Subsidiary organs can also be joint, like the Peacebuilding Commission, which functions as a subsidiary body of both the Security Council and the General Assembly, focusing on preventive diplomacy and post-conflict peacebuilding. In general, the United Nations subsidiary bodies can be summarized across several areas. First, there are the human rights-related subsidiary bodies. Broadly speaking, this includes the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, established by the General Assembly, operating under the Secretary General, with the High Commissioner leading its work. More specifically, human rights bodies include UNICEF, which focuses on children's rights as a specialized agency under the General Assembly, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, reporting annually to ECOSOC regarding refugee matters, and the UN Women or the UN Fund for Women, also established by the General Assembly. These constitute the main human rights-related subsidiary bodies. Next, we have the development-related bodies. The first one is UN Trade and Development, established by the General Assembly with 131 member states, focusing on development issues. Then there is the International Trade Center, created under GATT and supervised by both GATT and the United Nations, complementing GATT's work. This supports development and assists countries in human development while promoting exports, with its budget coming from the UN, GATT cooperation, UNIDO, and private actors. The UN Development Programme is another key body, alongside the UN Environment Programme, established after the Stockholm Conference. The UN Population Fund, also created by the General Assembly, is one of the key entities, implementing the action programs like the 1994 Cairo Population and Development Conferences Plan and the UN Human Settlements Program, UN Habitat, established by the General Assembly, addresses human settlement issues and seeks sustainable solutions. And in the field of scientific and research bodies, we have the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, established by the General Assembly to strengthen the UN's efficiency through research and educational programs. The International Research and Training Institute for the Advancement of Women was created by ECOSOC with the endorsement of the General Assembly. The United Nations Interregional Crime and Justice Research Institute conducts interregional studies on justice and crime. The UN Office for Services and Support, along with the International Computing Center, provides operational and data processing support. Additionally, the UN Staff College was established upon the Secretary General's proposal under the General Assembly's oversight, and the United Nations University in Tokyo, also created under the General Assembly's mandate, conducts research to advance the purposes of the UN Charter. Surrounding the organs is a constellation of specialized agencies, each independent yet linked to the UN through agreements with ECOSOC. The World Bank Group is the financial and development arm of the UN system, consists of 5 specialized institutions. International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which provides loans to middle-income countries for reconstruction and development projects. International Development Association offers concessional loans and grants to low-income countries, supporting poverty reduction and economic growth. International Finance Corporation promotes private sector investment in developing nations. Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency provides political risk insurance and guarantees to encourage foreign investment. An International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes resolves disputes between states and foreign investors, ensuring legal protection for international investments. Together, these 5 institutions form a comprehensive system for financing development, reducing poverty, promoting investment, and supporting global economic stability. The International Monetary Fund serves as the UN's monetary institution, aiming to ensure global financial stability. It provides short-term financial assistance to countries facing balance of payments crises, monitors economic policies, and offers technical support. A unique feature of the IMF is the Special Drawing Rights, SDRs, an international reserve asset that countries can exchange for freely usable currencies to bolster liquidity and stabilize economies. And the World Trade Organization governs global trade under a framework of rules and agreements. It was established in 1995 as the successor to the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, evolving from decades of multilateral trade negotiations aimed at reducing barriers and creating a predictable global trading system. The WTO provides a framework for negotiating trade agreements, monitoring compliance, and resolving disputes between states. Its structure includes the Ministerial Conference, which meets every 2 years as the highest decision-making body, and the General Council, which acts as both a day-to-day governing body and a dispute settlement body. The WTO's core duties include facilitating the implementation and administration of trade agreements, monitoring national trade policies, providing technical assistance and training for developing countries, and serving as a platform for trade negotiations to promote open, fair, and stable international trade. On social, cultural, and humanitarian pillar, we have the International Labor Organization, which was born in 1919 out of the Versailles Treaty, with a mission to protect workers and promote social justice across the world. It brings together governments, employers, and workers to set global labor standards, oversee fair practices, and provide guidance on employment, safety, and human dignity. UNESCO, on the other hand, rises from the ashes of World War II as a guardian of culture, knowledge, and education. It fosters peace through learning, science, and the preservation of cultural heritage. Through its member states, executive board, and global programs, UNESCO promotes dialogue among civilizations, protects human creativity, and supports education and research in every corner of the world. The World Intellectual Property Organization traces its roots to the Paris Convention of 1883 and the Berne Convention of 1886, protecting literary and artistic works across borders. It promotes innovation and creativity by helping creators secure their rights, facilitating international cooperation, and ensuring that ideas and knowledge can circulate safely while respecting the work of others. The World Health Organization was established at the International Health Conference under the United Nations in New York, aiming to ensure the highest possible standard of health for all people. It coordinates global health initiatives, monitors diseases, supports national health systems, and provides guidance on public health policies to prevent illness and improve well-being worldwide. The World Tourism Organization evolved from a voluntary Swiss-based non-governmental body into a specialized UN agency, guiding the development of sustainable tourism. It encourages economic growth, cultural exchange, and responsible travel practices, while helping countries manage tourism strategically. And the International Organization for Migration was created to ensure orderly and humane migration. It develops policies, provides technical assistance, and coordinates international responses to the movement of people, addressing the challenges of migration while protecting the rights and dignity of migrants everywhere. In the field of agriculture, the first major institution is the Food and Agriculture Organization. Its origins go back to 1905, when the French-initiated Rome Agreement aimed to create an international agricultural body, but it wasn't until the 1945 Quebec Conference that the Food and Agriculture Organization formal constitution replaced earlier efforts. It exists to fight hunger, promote food security, support sustainable agriculture, and coordinate international efforts so that all people can have access to sufficient and nutritious food. Another key institution is the International Fund for Agricultural Development, which provides financial support and technical assistance to rural communities in developing countries. It works to reduce poverty, strengthen farming systems, and enhance access to resources, helping smallholder farmers improve productivity and livelihoods. We also have the World Food Program, the United Nations' sole agency dedicated to delivering humanitarian food assistance. It operates under the guidance of the Food and Agriculture Organization and the UN General Assembly, responding to emergencies, supporting nutrition programs, and building resilience in vulnerable populations worldwide. In the technical and industrial field, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization plays a central role. It was created to promote industrial development, help countries modernize their industries, foster sustainable economic growth, and reduce inequalities by supporting technological transfer and capacity building. The International Civil Aviation Organization sets global standards for aviation safety, efficiency, and environmental protection, ensuring that international air transport operates smoothly and securely. Alongside it, the International Maritime Organization coordinates maritime safety, security, and environmental protection, developing regulations that guide shipping across the world's oceans. Another important agency is the World Meteorological Organization, which monitors weather, climate, and water resources, providing vital data to protect lives, support agriculture, and mitigate the effects of natural disasters. Then we have the International Atomic Energy Agency, that promotes safe, secure, and peaceful use of nuclear energy, reporting its activities to the UN General Assembly, the Security Council, and ECOSOC. Finally, the International Seabed Authority and other maritime-related UN bodies coordinate the exploration and management of ocean resources, ensuring sustainable use and protection of the marine environment, in alignment with the UN's broader governance system. In the field of communications, the International Telecommunication Union stands as one of the oldest global agencies. It was created during the 1932 Madrid Conference, building on the earlier conventions of 1865 on telegraphs and 1902 on wireless communication. It coordinates international technical standards, frequency allocation, and ensures that global telecommunications operate seamlessly and efficiently across borders. Alongside it, the Universal Postal Union has a history that stretches back to the First Postal Congress in 1874. Initially formed as the General Postal Union, it evolved into the Universal Postal Union, standardizing international mail services, coordinating postal policies, and facilitating secure and reliable exchanges of letters and parcels worldwide. The International Organization for Communications by Satellite and other long-distance communication agencies complement these efforts, enabling governments, companies, and individuals to connect globally. Together, these organizations form the backbone of international communication, ensuring that messages, data, and mail move efficiently across the world. At the end, I should mention two other organizations related to the UN. Alongside the specialized agencies, the International Criminal Court, or ICC, plays a unique role in global justice and is linked to the United Nations through the broader framework of international law. The International Criminal Court was established through a process initiated by the United Nations General Assembly, which convened negotiations to create a permanent court to prosecute the most serious international crimes, including genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. These efforts culminated in the adoption of the Rome Statute in 1998, which became the ICC's founding treaty and entered into force on July 1, 2002, after the required number of states ratified it. The ICC is composed of 18 judges, elected by the Assembly of States Parties. The court's duties include investigating and prosecuting crimes within its jurisdiction, ensuring fair trials, and providing justice for victims of international crimes. The ICC was established to prosecute individuals for the most serious crimes of concern to the international community. It operates independently of the United Nations, but maintains a cooperative relationship with the UN in areas such as enforcement of arrest warrants, referrals of situations, and logistical support. And finally, in the realm of policing and law enforcement, Interpol serves as the world's largest international police organization. Its primary purpose is to facilitate cooperation among national police forces, enabling the exchange of information, coordination of investigations, and the tracking of transnational crime, from human trafficking to cybercrime. Interpol functions as a vital bridge between countries, making international law enforcement more effective and responsive. Unlike the ICC, Interpol is independent from the United Nations, but it often cooperates with UN bodies and other international institutions. Okay, that was everything you needed to know about the League of Nations and the United Nations. Thanks for accompanying, my friends. I hope you didn't get tired of me talking so much. Until next week, when we will discuss famous regional organizations, take care of yourselves. Okay?